So like I said, I've been in the car buying process for a few months. I probably seriously started looking for a car mid-July, and I didn't buy my car until November 10th. November 10th. If you told me that it was going to take that long, I would have started in March. I didn't think it was going to take me that long. It's a lot harder than I ever expected it to be. I did end up buying my car from an out-of-state dealership. Honestly, turned out to be such a great situation for me. My boyfriend and I drove 2 hours from his lake house in South Carolina to Forest City, North Carolina. We followed up on an ad that we had seen on cargurus.com. On the ad, the car looked so clean, it looked beautiful, like it almost looked too good to be true. So we went ahead and went up to go look at it, and I literally, it's almost like love at first sight with a vehicle. As soon as we test drove it, I remember I said to him, I would be an idiot not to buy this car. It just passed all my expectations, had all my qualifications, even my frivolous ones, and it was my dream car. So after a few more hours and a handful of signatures, they handed me the keys, the car was mine, and it was my first car, and I was on cloud 9. But the dealership that I went to was so incredible. They were so kind, they weren't pushy, they answered all of our questions, they gave us all the facts. Overall, a great experience. But anyway, I'm so lucky that I found the perfect car for me. I did buy a used car, which is the point of this video. I know that people have videos talking about buying a car in general, but I feel like there are so many stipulations that come to buying a used car, things that you have to look for on top of the general things that you need to look for when you're buying a car, period. And so I feel like I've learned a lot in these past few months. There are just so many more things that you need to understand and look for when a car has been previously owned. So I've broken down the rest of the video into 4 more sections. So sit back, relax, get your popcorn, because this is a doozy, and let me teach you a thing or two. This is the most difficult yet important part of the car buying process. Finding potential cars to even go look at is hard. I thought that I would have so many cars lining up that I wanted to go look at, when in reality, I think I looked in person at like 4 or 5 cars maybe before I found mine. If even that, it's harder to find specifics when they're used. And it's even harder when you're really set on what you want, which was me. I thought I was a little too picky at times. It turned out that I actually wasn't, so it turned out okay. But there are so many websites to browse for cars on. Like I said, Car Gurus, cars.com. And before you start even browsing, there are a few things that you need to do. Step 1, set your price range. How much are you willing to spend on this car? That depends on what year the car is, what model it is, what it comes with, what condition it's in, how many miles it has. For example, I was looking for a car from 2008 to 2012, and my first price ceiling that I set was $8,500. I realized after looking for so long that that kind of wasn't realistic for my qualifications. So I raised my price ceiling up to $10,000, but was really hoping to keep it under that. But I mentally said, okay, if I have to spend 10, I will. And that brings us to step 2. You need to figure out what kind of car you want. For me, that was easy. I didn't have to figure it out. I learned to drive in my mom's 2008 Honda Accord. My dad has a Honda. My mom had a Honda for 22 years before she has her current Honda. I'm just a Honda family. So I knew what I wanted. I knew what I was comfortable in. But if you've never had a car, or you learn to drive in, like, I don't know, for example, like your mom's BMW, which like isn't realistic for a first car, you're probably not sure what route you want to go in. So at this point, it's best to ask your family and friends what they recommend, what they've had good or bad experiences with. You don't have to fully base your decision off of that, but of of course it's great to get insight and input from people that have experienced it firsthand. Like, for example, before I even started looking for a car, I wanted a Honda Civic. It turns out that my uncle has had experiences in the past with both Accords and Civics, and he says the Civics aren't as great, they just don't hold up as well. The Accords, he said, were gonna be better. So I said, you know what, that's enough for me. I don't really care, I just knew I wanted a Honda, so I just decided, okay, I'm gonna get an Accord. Step 3, this is the biggest one. You have to decide what characteristics are needs and wants. When it comes to used cars, there are a few more things that you have to think about when you're searching for a car. Like, one thing that you don't have to think about with a new car is how many miles am I comfortable with this car already having. A brand new car is gonna have 0. It's gonna have basically nothing. Used cars, they're probably gonna have 80,000 to 100 and something thousand. Of course, it depends on what year it is, but that's something you have to take into consideration, along with, has it been in any previous accidents? Has it been repaired in any ways? Visual wear and tear on the interior and the exterior. New cars don't have that. People don't think about that. So for me, I wanted to keep my mileage under 125-ish, 130-ish K. I didn't want any previous accidents. I wanted no visual wear and tear in the interior and minimal on the exterior. And I just wanted it to be a well taken care of car. It's never going to be shiny and perfect. Even someone that takes care of their car, you're going to have little scratches. Even if the car seems perfect, it's gonna have little dings. And I think almost in the beginning, I was too picky about that. At the end, I almost became the opposite of not too picky. I don't know what those words would be, but like, I was almost willing to compromise too much. In the end, I ended up with a car that's basically spotless. Like, it looks like it could be like a 3-year-old car, which it's not at all. You just have to find what you're comfortable with as like a middle ground balance for that. So the best thing that you can do is make a split column of needs versus wants. My needs were 125,000 miles or less, no accidents reported at all, minimal scratches on the outside. I wanted a basically spotless interior. It could not be smoked in, and it must be gray or white. The things I wanted but weren't deal breakers if they weren't present was gray/tan leather interior, a backup camera, Bluetooth capability, and automatic seat adjustment. Looking back at it, I really wasn't as picky as I thought I was. As I just made that list, like, the things that I was asking for, like, this car has to have this, were super reasonable. Maybe having a perfectly spotless interior wasn't realistic since I was looking at cars that were like 12 to 8 years old, but still. So with my car, I ended up getting all the necessities except for the mileage. I did go over. My car had about 132,000, but with Accords that last 300,000 miles normally, like, that's nothing. You know what I mean? Especially for a 10-year-old car. I ended up getting a 2010. And then I got so many of my wants. I got leather seats. I got the gray color. It does have Bluetooth capability, but just with the phone, but that's also still nice. So step 4 is it's okay to change your mind, which I did a lot, especially on your necessities versus your wants, and especially after you see what's out there around you in your price range. For example, in the beginning, my mileage limit was 110K. I was like, I'm not going over that. And then I realized that's unrealistic. It's especially okay to change your frivolous necessities. If you say, oh, I have to have a backup camera. Oh, I have to have Bluetooth CarPlay. You know, or like, I have to have this color. I have to have this color on the inside and outside. Those are frivolous. Frivolous necessities, I think, are physical attributes that don't add or take away from the car's performance. Okay, now listen up. This is step 5. This is the biggest tip that I'm gonna give you. As you start looking, it's gonna be so confusing, especially if you have other people looking for you, like other family and friends. For me, it was me, my boyfriend, my mom, and my uncle. Those are the 4 people that were constantly looking for cars for me. We were looking on the same sites, we were putting in the same search filters, so of course we were coming up with the same results. I cannot tell you how confusing that gets. We were constantly texting each other listings. We sent these same ones back and forth so many times. Hey, did you see this one? Isn't that the same one? No, different city. What about this one? No, I saw that one yesterday. You start confusing no's with yeses, bad cars with good cars, and I found the best way to organize organize this. You need to make a Google Excel spreadsheet. Now let me show you what my boyfriend and I made because it is incredible. So this is the spreadsheet that my boyfriend and I made. Whenever we found potential car listings, we put it on here so the other person could see it right away. These were our categories: color, interior, year, mileage, price, last 4 digits of the VIN number, dealership, location, comments, a dealer name if we had talked to somebody on the phone number, and a link to the listing. Then we'd go back and color code the listings. We had red for the nose, yellow for the potentials, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even sure what the purple represented anymore. This sheet was so thorough. If we were searching on Car Gurus and we saw, oh, this one looks good, then we looked back on the spreadsheet and we go, oh yeah, of course it's good. It's on the sheet, like we saw this yesterday. Just organizing and keeping track of the cars that you looked at are going to save you so much time and confusion. And if you're the only person looking for a car for yourself, just make an account on the website that you're searching on. That's gonna help you as well. But honestly, you might as well just make a spreadsheet even if it's just you, because having all that information laid out in front of you is just life-changing, to be honest. So this is where buying a used car versus a new car can get really tricky, confusing, and downright just frustrating, to be honest. It's just a known fact that used car salesmen can be pushy and misleading, and it's just a sucky business. Like, you can be misled so many times by so many people. It happened to me so many times. But I have some tips that are gonna help you figure out how to deal with these people. So number 1 is don't be afraid to walk away from them. This is critical. This is the biggest tip that adults in my life told me when I was going to buy a used car. You cannot be afraid to just walk away and give it all up if they won't come down on price, if they won't throw in something that you want, if they don't make it fully worth it. Don't let them push you into signing for something that you don't think is worth it, that you don't really want. You can just walk away. That's the biggest power that you have as a customer. Just leave. Honestly, if they let you walk away, was it the right car for you anyway? No, because you don't want to compromise. Number 2 is don't tell them how you're paying until you have a number on a paper in front of you. Did I say that the last thing I said was the most important tip that people gave me? I lied. This is the most important tip. This definitely goes more for people like myself that were planning on buying the car in full, because lo and behold, most dealerships want you to finance, because when you finance, what do they get off of it? They make interest. They make more than the price that you signed for, because you signed for a down payment and you signed for whatever percent APR, and you have to pay a certain amount every month. But when you don't pay it off in a certain amount of time, you get a little bit of interest added, and they make coin off of that. Let's say you're planning on paying for your car in full that day when you're there. If you say that before they give you a solid number, sometimes they may jack up the price a little to make up for the lost interest that they would be missing out on since you're not financing. So I'm gonna tell you the magic words to say if they ask you how you're paying before they write the price on a piece of paper. All you have to say is, I'm bringing my own financing. What does that even mean, you ask? Literally, it can mean that 1, like myself, you're bringing the means to pay for the car that day, full price. Or it could also mean you could have just already got it through your bank, gotten approved for a loan to pay for the car, and you don't have to go through their finance people, so they don't know, and they're like, okay. Sometimes they'll push more, sometimes they won't, but you leave it at that. Number 3 is show them you know what you're talking about. You gotta assert yourself, be the boss. Show that you understand cars, even if you don't. Or have someone with you that understands cars, or get someone to teach you about cars. In my instance, I had my boyfriend with me, and my uncle also taught him some things about what to look for. This is definitely more about the under the hood, the services part of the cars, things that I personally can't tell. I can't look under the hood of a car and know whether it's gotten this done, if this has been replaced, you know. I don't know what to look for. That's why I have men in my life. But when you're discussing parts of the car, potential replacement, services it's had done, say it like you mean it. Say it like you understand what you're talking about. Speak with authority. So if it's only you looking for a car, do your research, like figure out what to look for. There are just so many little things that you can look for. The Carfax report is going to give you a lot of this information, but it's also also great to be able to look for that yourself in person. If you don't want to do it like me, if you don't understand any of it, find a man in your life or a powerful woman that understands cars, because I just don't. And the last thing is super easy, but always ask for the Carfax report. They will normally give it to you for free. They should give it to you for free. It should have records of accidents, services it's had done, all the things like that, and it's really easy to read. That's it. Short and sweet. Just get the Carfax. So you followed those tips, you found a car, you checked out the car and it's perfect. Now it's time to actually buy the car. When it comes to paying for the car, it comes down to two options. You can either finance or not finance. That's about it. Majority of individuals do not have the funds available to pay for a car in full off the lot, even if it's used, and that's totally reasonable and fine, because a lot of used cars, newer ones, are still like $13,000 to $15,000. That's a lot. So since I paid for mine and I didn't have a loan, I really don't have a lot of information about this. I don't understand the loan process and all of that stuff. So if you're looking for more info on that side of the car buying process, I would recommend Hannah Mott's video. She does a great job at going into the whole financing situation, getting a loan, all of that. You should check her video out after you finish mine. Thank you. So when you're at the desk and you're signing the papers, they will first give you the papers, signing to be honest, like, I know this is gonna sound bad, I like barely knew what I was signing. They were just like, here, sign this, and they explained it, and I was just like, okay, kind of glanced to my boyfriend to see if he was like gonna be like, no, don't sign that, you know? It was just like agreement that I was gonna buy it, agreement that like I live in my state that I do, like stuff like that. So you sit at that desk for a while, sign all those initial papers, and then eventually they will take you back to the financing office, which is where you're actually going to pay or just like set up your financing situation if that's what you're going to do. But we got back there, and the one thing I will warn you on, not really a warning, it's just like a decision that you're gonna have to make for both new or used cars probably, is when you are back in the finance office and you're signing for the price firm again, they'll probably offer you a few extra things. I know for me, they offered me extra coverage, or I forget, it was something about free services at their dealership like for the next year or so. For sometimes it's a good deal, but one, Accords don't need a ton of service, and so one, that wouldn't have been worth it. Two, the dealership was in North Carolina and I was living in Georgia, so it wasn't like worth it, obviously. I'm not gonna drive to North Carolina to get my car taken care of, so they understood that. So they might throw in things here and there. I think that was like $300, which like isn't horrible, but it's just something to think about when you're going to sign the final papers. I signed the papers and she was mine, and I drove her home, and I just love her, and she's just fantastic and beautiful. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I hope this was super informative to you. I literally have so many notes in front of me right now that I just like kind of read through. I worked very hard to put this all together. I wanted it to be very informative for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for my car tour soon, and have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!
Are you still there? To delete your message, what are you talking about?